Hi, and welcome to the FutureNow series at E& Enterprise. Today I am joined by Majid Khan. He is the Director of Service Design at HelpAG's Managed Security Services. And Majid every day spends time on figuring out how do we do things smarter. And one of the things that he's spending a lot of time on right now is artificial intelligence, machine learning, and automation. And I know for many of you that's also a very, very important parameter when you're looking at how do you optimize your business. So Majid, what do you think about automation and some of the benefits it brings to organizations today?
So automation, and if I focus specifically on the cybersecurity industry and for us or for similar organization, be it enterprise trying to tackle cybersecurity and for service provider like ourselves, I think it's extremely important. And what I also feel, it's not something that is in future. Automation exists today, and I think we will be lagging behind if you're not using automation for the advantage of tackling cyber threats. So today, we kind of, if you look at the benefits from a let's say from an MSS or a SOC perspective, I kind of tend to break it down into three different areas. One, automation actually allows us to be consistent in how we handle or tackle incidents. Two, there's a lot of information that we are after when we are handling an incident. So automation actually also allows us to aggregate all of that information, make it available for us to tackle that incident, and also automate the response action as well.
And I think when we talk about automation often, we talk about to what level is it utilized, right? And artificial intelligence in our environment.
First thing, Nikolai, to your question, to what extent we go for automation. One is the one thing that I was mentioning around, kind of automating the entire workflow of incident handling. That's fully automated. We can do it. We want to make sure that whatever we want to list down as an incident response plans in a document, we have translated that into a technology so that that can be handled. Two is enrichment can fully be automated and safely be automated as well. There's no risk of enriching information so that we can handle it better. Response is where we personally need to be very careful of how much we want to trust the technology to take response action, because that could tend to become slightly destructive as well. Depending upon if you're trusting it too much, it starts doing things which otherwise may break systems, may stop things from working. So first two, creating a workflow through an automation is fully safe. We do it day in, day out. Enriching, again, we do it completely. Response action, we are normally careful. We have been doing that, but I would say it not very extensively. So we choose what specific actions we want to automate, and then we stop. We always want to make sure there's no false positive in terms of what automation can do it for us. Moving a step further to the question using learning-based or artificial intelligence-based automation. Again, wherever there's large data sets involved, which is basically the technology that we use, which is collecting data sets from endpoint telemetry, network telemetry, or even security analytics or SIM platform. So there is a lot of automation that is already in place to simplify machine learning in place, which is basically looking at the baseline of the environment and then giving us alerts based on not a static rule that we configure, but based on the change of behavior. So that's based on the learning from the environment. So that's something that we have been doing, using to an extent machine learning and AI as well. Again, in this context as well, when we talk about response action, I don't think so we are actively doing response action fully AI capabilities. Specifically now, if I compare it from a technology perspective, so where there are large data sets, your EDR, NDR, possibly SIM technologies, a lot of ML/AI is happening. But where we aggregate our alerts, which is basically talking about SOAR platforms, their AI use case at the moment we are still exploring, because there we are talking about that AI technology actually suggesting that last time you took an action against this threat to block an IP address, or you took an action to isolate this machine. So you could in future start automating that as well as we learn more and more. But today, what we would be more comfortable with, it's suggesting us that based on these data sets, based on the previous actions, this is what you had done. So would you want me to take similar action? And that's something that technology providers do provide us today. And again, we are moving forward in that direction as well.
Yeah, I'm certain that AI is something that we're all going to hear a lot about in the coming years. Obviously, I'm sure that many of you have heard about ChatGPT and the capabilities that the OpenAI platform is doing around language. If you haven't looked at it yet, I'm certain you will be doing that at some point in time, because it is really, really interesting to see also to some extent a little bit scary, and that's also impacting cybersecurity in the sense that those kind of capabilities are now being utilized also by potentially the bad guys to create more trustworthy phishing emails and these kind of things. And many of the controls that we have in place today, potentially even the individuals that's reading those emails and potentially being tricked into doing something with these emails, they're really having to up their skills in order to be able to detect if this is a phishing email or not. Ultimately, I think that AI will be a positive also in the cybersecurity industry because we will be so much better at detecting malicious behavior. But of course, with any other technology, there will always be a balance that will have to take place. Yeah. Obviously in EA and enterprise, we have great capabilities, not just in the cybersecurity space around AI, but we also have a specific business unit that is just focusing on helping enterprise customers understanding what they can do with AI. Margit, super interesting to hear what you guys are doing and what we're doing in Help AG. Obviously, automation is also something that is allowing you to be more efficient at the end of the day. It also means that we get more dependent on these technologies. So how do we deal with that?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, Nicola, you mentioned. And I think this is even from a cybersecurity professional to being a layman as well. I think we are more and more dependent on technology. And it could be as simple as using Google or Apple Maps when we go out, or using a technology for doing this automation or working for us. So what is important is whenever we are depending on a technology, we have to plan around the resiliency of it as well, right? What would be our approach if that technology is not available, right? So I think that's an important element for us to be thinking about whenever the adoption of technology or embracing of technology is happening, and I think that applies to everything, not just cybersecurity. We got to plan around it better, make sure that availability of that technology is based on the criticality of the business is there, and in case of unavailability of the technology or capability, plan around how the business should continue. So it's an important element to focus and find answers to before we start embracing the technologies as well.
So Margit, there's one question or a couple of questions that we always ask everyone who's participating on the FutureNow talks. And the first question is, if you could take one thing from the future to today, what would that be?
Yeah, since we are talking about artificial intelligence, and I think it's personally very relevant as well, AI actually is a different level from an adoption perspective. So, it kind of breaks it down into assisted intelligence to augmented intelligence to autonomous intelligence. And I think first two, we are there. The last one, the true AI, the autonomous intelligence, I think a lot of people talk about it, but I think if we are able to bring that forward, I think it'll probably give us personally better family time, because you could actually, get a lot of things done.
And at the same time, if you had one thing that you could preserve in the future, what would that be?
What I feel is there's a lot of legacy and history we have as humankind. If we are able to make sure that we take forward uncorrupted history in the future, I think that'll be very nice, because there is a risk of always, our future generations to not know what has happened now and what has happened historically. So if we are able to take uncorrupted history in future, I think that's something will be very nice. So our future generations would know how humankind has evolved. So that's something, it's slightly outside the professional remits, but I feel that'll be very nice if we are able to possibly use technology to make sure we don't corrupt the information that we have and take it forward.
So with that, I want to thank you for spending a couple of minutes with us here, talking about automation and artificial intelligence. And thank you very much for spending time with us today, Margit.
Thank you as well, Nikolai. It's been great talking and nice chatting. Thank you so much.